first night here for the tournament, basically. So it's I was here a few years ago for the draw, all the way back when the draw for this competition actually started in like July 2015. But yeah, I'm back here now with just 4 teams left in it.
St Petersburg has won rave reviews from everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more so going off my previous experience here, but it is sort of stunning place. It's unusual, not unusual. It's just a reflective of the size of Russia that this is like a train journey from Helsinki. I think you can get a boat. It's quite Scandinavian in terms of like the local ethnicity as such. It's more sort of tipping on to Scandinavia, whereas other parts of Russia there's a very different profile. But yeah, I mean, stunning sort of architecture and some beautiful buildings around the sort of the centre of town and so on. So yeah, I think I'm not sure if they've been 100% lucky with the weather here as much. I think there's been a few biblical storms, but it is still a pretty nice place to visit.
So we have Belgium, France tomorrow. Two extremely talented squads, obviously. Two very different managers in persona and certainly in approach as well. That's one of the big themes in advance of this game, the Martinez versus Deschamps battle.
Yeah, and it is. It's funny they both had their press conferences there today. Martinez, as people would remember from his time at Everton, very open, very comfortable speaking. Pat Nevin even asked him a question at his press conference. He was there in a press conference, BBC mode. But Martinez is willing to engage and discuss tactics without maybe giving a huge amount away. Deschamps, a bit more old school, being at the top level, a bit more in some ways in terms of what he gives away in his demeanour. But Martinez is riding the crest of a wave here because he's getting credit for his tactical wonder against Brazil, and it's almost like his reputation has been restored in this tournament when it's obviously taken a bit of a pummeling in recent years.
Yeah, I was going to make that point. It's been a really brilliant tournament for Martinez and his standing in the game, because there was a Brendan Rodgers caricature-esque vibe off Martinez amongst his more cruelest observers, and yet he's really turned things around. So the tactical flexibility has been a big talking point with Martinez. He switched to a 4-3-3 against Brazil. Lukaku on the right hand side of De Bruyne, I suppose, is a false nine, and Hazard on the other side. And the general word is, will that work to treat? And it was a very impressive thing. Now, the other less favourable interpretation is they were gifted an opener and then pretty much retreated and sort of got away with it because Brazil created a lot of chances. I know you're a big fan of the expected goals model, Dan, and Brazil should have won that game 2.45 to Belgium's 0.5, which actually, now that I think about it, is a question I'd like to put to John Giles sometime. But I'll put it to you for the time being. So how impressed were you with the masterclass, the Roberto Martinez masterclass against Brazil?
Yeah, I mean, look, they were hanging on a bit at the end. I'm not a big expected goals aficionado. I would like to watch Ask John Giles that question, maybe sort of just ask the question and then maybe leave the room and record his answer or what he's saying. I know what you're saying. I mean, I watched Belgium against Tunisia and they were wide open and it's entertaining. I mean, Japan, they really should have gone out in many respects, only for... brilliance dragged him back into it too, and he made some good changes. But generally, you get punished for going 2 behind in a game like that. So I take the argument, and some of the stick that Martinez got towards the end of his time at Everton wasn't undeserved because they couldn't defend, and I think his chirpy demeanour after everything sort of wound people up, and sometimes with good reason. But I thought they were good against Brazil. He made the changes. He acknowledged that De Bruyne hadn't been as effective against Japan, and maybe he needed to get him further forward. He did that. He switched Lukaku out wide a bit, which is something he'd done previously at Everton. That helps your players, and he was effective. And I mean, I suppose it's the inverse of the Japanese point. I mean, they get into a 2-goal lead, but they held it. I know that they conceded one, but they rode their luck. But you would expect that against the natural element of the team that's fighting for their lives to try and stay in the competition. And Brazil had actually finished all their games very well in the tournament, and they did that again. So they held out. Yeah. I think he deserves credit. He faced the challenge for this game. Thomas Meunier is out. He's suspended. Granted, he was right wing back in the old system, and I mean he does have options there for flat back four again. Guys who played right back for their club. He does face a challenge against France that can kill you on the counter-attack, and it's going to be interesting to see how he sort of gets that balance between having his forward players, De Bruyne and Hazard, in attacking areas, but also being mindful of a French team that is waiting almost for you to fall into their trap, and then they go when they hurt you.
Yeah. To extend the Deschamps-Martinez contrast then, so Martinez very hands-on, tactically astute, we'll give him that for sure, and there's a sense that Belgium are playing to a plan when they go out on the pitch. Deschamps obviously prizes pragmatism. There is just this lingering sense with France under Deschamps, given the talent that he has at his disposal, that they still haven't quite caught fire, that they could be so much more than they are, and pragmatism ultimately rules the day with Deschamps.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I mean, and yet at the same time, you think of a pragmatic coach and you think that he's going to be a team stacked with senior players, and you think of the fullbacks he's playing with Hernandez and Pavard. He's taking risks to a point, and they're attacking players. But yes, there is that niggling sense that they're playing within themselves, a small bit, or that they just do enough.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
It's hard to distill whether that just comes from the coach or whether it's just coming from the fact that this is just a really good squad and that they're very comfortable and they haven't really been asked questions yet, which is sort of a terrifying thought. I mean, obviously the Argentina game was a bit mad. You do go Euros where again they were sort of doing enough. They were good in the semi-final, admittedly, and then in the final that they froze, that his substitutions weren't great, and that he still isn't 100% sure of his best team as much as he's. I think we can probably guess what way they're going to play in this tomorrow. But he's playing young players. He's giving them a chance. He's probably put what I think might be the right team on the pitch sometimes. But it just hasn't sparked. Yeah. But it is possible they just haven't been asked the questions by a team yet, and there might be another gear in France tomorrow that could shock us.
Yeah. I have a quote for you then. I'm not the national manager. From the beginning, I've said that everybody has to keep calm. I'm here to help the manager and the squad. The manager is the one who will do the talking. I will simply try and make the team better. No, Dan, that's not a quote from Roy Keane, Ireland assistant manager. That is from Thierry Henry. In his only interview in the 2 years since he took the job with Belgium, Christophe Terrer in The Guardian had a brilliant article about Henry and his role at the World Cup the other day. Still 40 years old, but pretty much near the top of the sprints when the Belgian team get together for training, when they measure their sprints. Keeps the ball in warm-ups better than anyone. But no, not doing press conferences. And, well, two things. He was saying the Belgian journalists are growing very tired of the global media at large just incessantly asking questions about Henry at all their press conferences and what's it like to have Henry in the squad. And the other point, of course, is he's very much to the fore in spite of his best intentions tomorrow, because clearly he's up against France, which is an odd spectacle.
Yeah, Thierry Henry would never want it to be all about him, Joe.
Well, in fairness, he could have done a lot more media here. He literally has done one sit-down interview in the 2 years since he's taken the job.
No, I acknowledge that. I'm sure he won't know where the cameras are tomorrow. It is a tough one. I'm still feeling a bit of Henry thing. With Henry, I don't think I can ever get past Henry coming out after the old handball thing and saying he wanted a replay. That was always a sense of he knew it was never going to happen, but it was a classic nice touch. Gesture.
It was a generous touchdown. It was a nice.
Oh, today would be a classy gesture in internet speak, but really it was just all about looking good, Well, he knew it was obviously never going to happen because he's a pro. It is a bit of a circus. It's inevitable. I think De Bruyne was asked, does he think Henry will sing the anthem? Kevin De Bruyne on the eve of a World Cup semi-final, what can he say? What answer can he give to that? That's not just adding to the mix. If people are really interested, he said it would be natural if he did sing the anthem. So that's fine, by the way.
Good answer.
I guess it's strange. I was thinking about Henry earlier, and I think we might have spoken about it before, that maybe the most interesting thing he's done on Sky. It's a short list, but it was the stuff with Hazard he did that time. And I wasn't even twigging about the fact that he's working with Hazard at the international team and about the skill of dribbling and explaining dribbling. And I guess in a way, as you said, we're not seeing a huge amount of what Henry is doing. We've read certain pieces, but I guess you can see how it would work. And Martinez did acknowledge the fact that Martinez and all of his coaching team haven't played at an elite level. You know, Martinez was a lower league player in England, and that what Henry is bringing to the mix here is that small bit of elite level experience. He's played in the World Cup final, he's played in Champions League games, and maybe for someone like Martinez, someone like that isn't a bad foil for him.
Yeah.
That you have this perception that he's, I'm not using the word spoofer in a cruel term, but it's just because he speaks and he's so open. And you sense that a lot of old football men are annoyed by it because they're like, well, what has he done or what's he saying? But Henry gives you that bit of gravitas, and there's maybe a sort of a combination there that it might just be the right fit for him. It's easy to say this now when nothing's gone wrong so far. But you can see there's some special individual talents in that Belgium team. You wonder about egos and so on. Maybe having Henry around isn't actually the worst scenario, as much as I'm never going to be a big fan.
As much as I look forward to putting the expected goals model to John Giles, something I would also like to put to him is the Financial Times, Dan. They have analysed the goal-scoring performances of teenage players in top competitions going back 3 decades. That's 3 decades, Dan. This includes the Big Five, European League, Spain, Germany, England, Italy, France, Champions League, and competitive senior internationals. And what they have found is Kylian Mbappé is the very best goal scorer there has been before reaching the age of 20. Mbappé is hitting 0.69 goals a game as a teenager, which is the best, going back 3 decades. Amongst players who have also managed more than 1,000 minutes of elite football during their teenage years are Lionel Messi was 0.54, Raul was 0.5, Wayne Rooney was 0.4, Thierry Henry was 0.43. So again, Mbappe is at 0.69, which is remarkable. If you want to extend the Big Five leagues to the Eredivisie, then Brazilian Ronaldo sneaks in at 0.84, 0.84, which is just ridiculous in his 2 seasons at Eindhoven. What the stats reveal, though, Dan, is that Mbappe is a very good player.
Yeah, I mean, it probably reveals that PSG win a lot of games 5-6-7-1, as anyone who follows, French league stuff. Now, I know he would have obviously done that with Monaco as well, but I mean, PSG do run up some cricket scores. So I'm not a mad fan of that stat, but I mean, it is sort of, I mean, it's mildly terrifying sort of how good he is. And even De Bruyne was speaking about it today that, he's got 15 years left in him. I mean, Mbappe's effectively got 4 World Cups to go potentially after this one. He's not even close to his prime. And he is devastatingly good. I mean, he does remind you of Henry in terms of what he offers. And okay, he may never have it as good as that Argentina game ever again in terms of like the freedom he was given by a supposedly elite opponent. But I mean, we touched on it earlier in the preview of the game. And I think what's interesting about Mbappe is not just what Mbappe does, right? Obviously, what he does is sensational. He's unbelievably quick.
Yeah.
It's the fact that within a very good side like France, that it's almost a distraction that he's proposed. You've got to think that Belgium are going to be going through their plans tomorrow and think, well, what's Mbappe going to bring to the mix here? They're going to be conscious. And then someone like Griezmann, can sort of slip under the radar and benefit from almost the attention that exists. Because Uruguay tried to stop Mbappe. I know he did a few dives and he wound people up a small bit. But he's getting, as much as his ability was known, it's not as if he's sprung out of nowhere. I think, teams are going to be spooked by not giving him room to run. And France might just have the options around to capitalise on that. But he's thrilling to watch.
Yeah,
I mean, that Argentina run was sensational. And, his overall stats, I mean, they can be disputed. But what can't be disputed is that he is the one player that has this ability to be a genuine great of the game. And that's what you want. He has the profile. At 19, he's already elite, and yeah, we could be remembering this as his World Cup.
Yeah, he's certainly trending in the right direction. And then finally, I probably won't talk to you before Moscow on Wednesday. England, Croatia, also on at 7. They know they stand in a moment of history, said Gareth Southgate. So he's done with playing this thing down. They're acknowledging how big this is. Fabian Delph went home because his wife was giving birth, and he's brought back the message to the team, just how nuts the country has gone. They're trashing IKEA stores. It's a wonderful time. It's Euro 96-esque. How big a chance are you giving England here against Croatia?
I give them a big chance. Yeah, I mean, it is like most Irish people. It's I can't speak for everyone, but it's mildly terrifying in some ways. Like how this could change everything we know over the next week. You know, and it would have to sort of reset a lot of our old perceptions and jokes and comments about the English national team. But I mean, Croatia have looked a bit tired. They've looked vulnerable. I think they're possibly, you know, if they perform to their peak, you know, Croatia should possibly beat England. Should, if their better players perform. But I don't know. It's hard to knock what England's done so far.
Oh, yeah.
I know they've come through the weak side of the draw, but they were very comfortable on Saturday in Samara. I mean, that game did not take much out of them at all. And I think at that stage of the competition, that matters. I mean, Croatia have been through the ringer. England haven't. I know it's all wonderfully relaxed. I think near me in St Petersburg today, they were playing darts and having another, you know, activity with the press lads who are all slowly but surely getting just sucked into it. Everyone's getting drawn into this thing. And they're coming to a new level of expectation now that they probably haven't dealt with in this competition. But I mean, it's not out of the question. I don't think you can really definitively say, oh, they're not going to do it.
No.
It's not capable. Over the course of 2 90-minute games against the potential teams that are left, I mean, they're capable of doing all of them, just as Wales were capable of doing Belgium a couple of years ago. You know, like, there's no super team left here. And, yeah, people can make of that what they will. We could be heading into, you know, the greatest tournament we remember in recent times, yet it ends with England winning it. Does that change the Irish relationship with this tournament? We shall see.
Not mine. Dan, thanks very much. We will, I guess we'll talk soon. Thanks so much.
Talk soon. See ya.
Off the Ball on News Talk.
Here we are about to kick off. The ref has his hand in his pocket.